welcome to Beyond the Headline. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. This is a show that will focus on not what the big story is, but why the big story is important. We will focus on the issues that matter to your lives and will help inform you better. Today on the show, we talk about the big headline of the centre versus state fight that has broken out over fuel taxes. But what is the real story behind the taxes? So a meeting today between the Prime Minister and Chief Ministers of various states, which was actually to discuss COVID-19, turned into the biggest headline of the day after the Prime Minister brought up the issue of taxes on petrol and diesel. What the issue really is all about. So we know that petrol and diesel prices have been spiking consistently. We've all been paying over 100 rupees a litre, no matter which city or state you are in. If you're in Mumbai, you pay 120 rupees a litre. But let's just look at the breakup. How much do you actually pay to the government as per its tax, and how much does it actually cost? So, for example, Delhi, 1 litre of petrol is 105 rupees and 41 paise. The dealers pay 56 rupees 52 paise, but you pay 105.41. The rest is pretty much tax, and that's where the entire issue now increases. Now, this tax is also broken up into what the centre and the state takes. So the centre gets about 27 rupees 90 paise, that's called excise duty, and the state gets 17 rupees 13 paise. Again, now I'm talking about the example of Delhi. Now, what you need to understand over here is what the centre takes and what the state takes is not just a percentage of excise duty. It is also broken up into cess and absolute figures depending on each state. The battle right now, which you're seeing going on between parties from the opposition as well as the government, is essentially saying that who should reduce the tax. In November last year, and it was seen as a Diwali gift, the Modi government said it is reducing excise duty. So 5 rupees on petrol and 10 rupees on diesel, which is their share of the tax that they actually take. But did states do that as well? Some states did. Some states did, and most of them were BJP-led states that did reduce their taxes as well. That is their VAT component. So today what the Prime Minister is saying is that if we have reduced, if the central government has reduced its excise, why aren't states doing the same? And why are some states specifically not doing the same? This is where the politics of it all comes in, because the states which haven't yet reduced their VAT to any significant extent are, for example, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, are all opposition-run states. So is this as simple a story as, you know, the opposition does not want to reduce taxes, but the central government and BJP-run states want to reduce taxes? Well, not really. One could easily ask, why are BJP-run states then reducing taxes? Then you could go into, you know, maybe that's how a double engine ki sarkar works, because on the one hand, you have something that the central government led by the BJP has decided, and states led by the BJP are following suit. But why are states actually resisting the drop in VAT? And here's where it really gets interesting. So as per the Finance Commission, any taxes that the central government gets, 41% of it has to go to states. But that does not apply to cess. And over time, the component of tax on petrol and diesel, which is cess applied by the central government, has increased. The other bugbear, and which is really irritating the states, is GST. And GST has become the big issue, because after GST, states can now apply their own taxes pretty much only on fuel and liquor. So their revenue options and their revenue streams have come down. Remember, everyone's gone through pandemic. So like you and I have perhaps curtailed our budgets and have thought about spending less. We're looking for more ways of earning revenue. It's the same for central and state government. And their one major source is fuel. So right now, they're saying, why should we give up our one major source of tax revenue, which is fuel, and reduce it? The other argument that state governments are making is that their taxes are ad valorem. What that means is it's based on the taxes, a percentage based on what the central government takes as excise. So whatever the cost of fuel is, plus the excise tax, the state government's tax is a percentage of that. So they say, why don't you reduce the excise, and then automatically the amount we take will actually come down. So here's the mechanics and the mathematics of the tax. The fact is that both sides should reduce the tax. Perhaps the central government has more room for it Do the states have as much room is a question which needs to be debated state by state as per that state's finances. The other question, why is this an issue today? Remember, the last time petrol and diesel rates were hiked at the pump was about 17, 18 odd days ago. It's become a big issue now. Of course, the apparent reason is that the Prime Minister has spoken about it today, and obviously that makes it big news, and then all the opposition leaders reacted. But the story behind the story is really one word, which is inflation. And inflation is what is really hurting now. So the March retail inflation numbers, that's the CPI, it's called the Consumer Price Inflation, came in at 6.95%. That's a 17-month high. That's really hurting people. Among that, food inflation was at 7.68%. So you've been feeling this all around you, that everything has become more expensive, fuel of course, but even food, the cost of edible oil, housing, everything you touch has become more expensive. And that's going to become a big political issue. Beyond a point, oil marketing companies who actually deliver that fuel to you at the petrol pump cannot stop from increasing prices further. The war in Russia and Ukraine is still going on, crude prices are still going up, so they need to pass that on. When that happens and people get angrier and angrier, who are you going to blame? And that is what you really must understand when you ask yourself why this is the headline today. So let's address the big questions. Should centre be cutting more tax or state? Should that answer be dependent on who you think is politically stronger or politically correct, or is it a factor of logics and mathematics and arithmetic? Should there be more transparency in fuel pricing? How come suddenly during elections, fuel prices stop increasing and then they start increasing again, and then when inflation gets higher, they stop? Isn't it supposed to be linked to global prices? Isn't that how oil marketing companies are supposed to work? The other big question, can policymakers please go beyond the blame game? Both sides, all sides, need to come together to really give some relief because inflation is beginning to pinch.